Millions of Americans are financially invisible, but experts say building a strong financial foundation may be more accessible than many people realize. Let's welcome Courtney Alev, consumer financial advocate at Intuit Credit Karma. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, I check my Credit Karma all the time, make sure that my score is looking good, but a lot of people don't even have credit. So what does it mean to be credit invisible, and how many Americans are affected?
That's right. So roughly 17 million Americans fall into this population we'd call credit invisible or thin file. And what that means is that they either don't have a credit report or they do not have enough data to generate a credit score. And without a credit score, it can be incredibly difficult to accomplish things that many of us might take for granted. Things like renting your first apartment or financing a car. And this can especially impact young people who are just getting started on their financial journey. In fact, nearly half of them tell us that they already feel that they're at a financial disadvantage because of their lack of credit history.
You mentioned young people, but what about some of the marginalized communities? Where are you seeing the marginalized communities lacking credit?
Absolutely. So while this credit invisible population may disproportionately impact young people who are newer to their journey, there's people across all ages, all walks of life, and all spectrums who, for whatever number of reasons, has not had access to credit historically and have not had the opportunity to build credit. The good news is that the tools that are available can help anyone, regardless of your background, regardless of your age.
Okay, yeah, so speaking of age, what is the right age for someone to start building their credit, and where should someone start if they're building from scratch?
There's no one right age. I think it's important that once you're ready to build those financial habits as you get into adulthood, it's a great time to at least make sure you understand credit. In fact, you can start learning the basics earlier. But for those who are trying to start building credit, it's really important to not be intimidated. We know it can be really overwhelming, and young people especially tell us they often have no idea where to start. But the great news is that there are tools available now that can help you start building credit based on things you're probably already doing, like paying bills on time. For example, Intuit Credit Karma has a tool called Credit Spark, which can help you turn your existing utility, phone payments that you're already making into positive credit history without needing to take on any debt. So it's a great place to get started no matter what your age.
Yes, well, I know that a lot of times when young people go off to college, some of the first things that they see when they go to buy their books at the bookstore are all the tables of these different credit card companies wanting to hawk their wares. They end up signing on to something without quite understanding the interest rate. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that young adults make when beginning their financial journey?
Absolutely. Some of the biggest mistakes we see people make are honestly some of the simplest. It's buying things that you can't afford. It's missing payments. It's only paying the minimum on a credit card, even if you can afford to pay more. And whether it's a young person or at any age, it's a great rule of thumb to only use a credit card, only use credit for things that you believe you can pay off in full within that month. Because otherwise, it can be tempting to make a purchase that might feel affordable at the time, you don't pay it off in full, and then you start getting those interest charges. And that thing that might have seemed affordable can actually end up costing you a lot. So it's a great rule of thumb before you charge anything to know, can I pay this off by the end of the month? And it's also important to know, which I think a lot of people aren't aware of, that even if you are making those payments every single month on time, carrying a large balance month to month can actually hurt your credit score, because lenders can see it as a sign that you are relying too much on borrowed money. So it's really important, especially for young people getting started, to understand how credit works, how debt works, how budgeting works, and how these little decisions that you're making every day can really add up over time to really influence your financial life.
Yeah, you had mentioned interest rates, and sometimes, in some cases, if the interest rate is high enough and you keep adding to your balance, it could take years to pay off. But I'll never forget, just to get anecdotal here for a moment, I was probably in college at the time, and I was shopping, and someone was trying to sell me their store credit card, and I asked them, what is the interest rate? And they said, oh, it's not very much. It's something which is really quite exorbitant, without them really understanding, while the number may have seemed small, when you apply it to an interest rate, is actually extremely high. So what is a target interest rate that might be a comfortable place for someone to start when they're building their credit?
I'd actually recommend for people who are just starting building their credit to not worry about the interest rate, in the sense that I'd recommend them to only be using that card if they're going to pay it off in full every month. So the great news is if you use a credit card responsibly and you make that entire payment, you pay off that whole balance, you're not going to incur interest fees. And so I'd actually encourage people to make sure they're only making those charges that they can pay off in full every month. While interest rates can vary a lot based on what's going on in the economy, if you're making those payments in full, you're never going to need to worry about those interest charges. And so especially for young people getting started, I'd really focus on avoiding ever need to really worry about the interest rate in the first place, and instead making sure you're never getting those charges because you're paying off your whole bill in full every month.
Okay, one last question for you. Why is the goal bigger than just achieving a credit score? And what does long-term financial success actually look like?
A credit score is a tool that can help you access milestones that many people aspire to. It might be buying a car, it might be buying a home someday. And so that credit score and getting a good one helps make sure that not only can you achieve those milestones if they're right for you, but also that you're getting the most favorable terms. So the score itself isn't the end game, it's rather what it helps you accomplish. And what you want is going to look different for everybody. But it's really helpful to have a foundation where you feel confident in your finances, you know where your money is going, and you have a financial cushion that can help you withstand any unpredictable things that life tends to throw at us.
Perfect.
And it can feel really intimidating to get started, but little steps every day can help.
Absolutely. Courtney Alev, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're back after this.